Hi everyone, Newtano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a new review of this Kid Cudi album, brand new Kid Cudi album, Insano. The wizard himself, Scott Mescudi. He's back. Rapper, singer, songwriter, hummer. Kid Cudi. It's been a minute since we've heard from Kid Cudi, or has it? We did have 2022's Intergalactic, a romance-themed TV special that he spearheaded, that he also did the soundtrack for, which was fine. It was interesting for sure to see him in a different creative mode in a world of animation and storytelling, but still, this wasn't exactly scratching the album itch that I'm sure some longtime fans have been desperate to get taken care of. That hasn't really happened since 2020 when Kid Cudi put out the third installment in his Man on the Moon series, which I did enjoy quite a bit, but also kind of felt like a bit of a detour for Cudi creatively, or a full circle moment, where he was mostly embracing the generational shift in popular rap music that occurred by way of his influence through current day giants such as Travis Scott, because there was a lot of psych trap stuff on this record that sounds like it could have been lifted straight off of Scott's Astro World. But again, Cudi is a major influence on his sound, so I get it. But going into Insano, I was kind of hoping that this would mark a new creative era for Cudi altogether, especially since he's known for changing and experimenting, switching things up, which sometimes does land him in spaces where he's not working to his strengths. But on the other hand, it has led to some wild, bold, and cutting-edge records from Cudder over the years too. But while listening to this new record for track after track after track in its hour-plus runtime, really only one word consistently came to mind, and that would be uninspired. This is for sure not a sad record from Cudi, or even remotely a moody record. And keep in mind, this guy is an artist who is typically known for capturing these kind of vaguely negative feelings and putting them into his music in a way that most of his fan base finds to be very relatable. And while I don't think a Cudi project needs to be coming from a dark place in order for it to be good, I would hope at the very least that his music comes across a little introspective, because most importantly, Cudi's older classic records are that, introspective. And that's really what it feels like Insano was missing for the majority of it. Maybe that, and also insanity. It's not very insane or insano. Overall though, it's not a bad thing that Cudi seems to be coming at this record from such a positive and carefree place. But after so many years of hitting us with a vastly different vibe, a longtime listener has to wonder why. And a deeper reading of the lyrics on this record doesn't really bring many, if any, answers. I mean, there's some drugs on this record, some sex, quite a bit of material flexing, and again, I just have to wonder, is that all that was missing before? Is the void officially filled? Are we just done? What mostly happens on a lot of these tracks is Cudi is kind of showing off, giving us a devil-may-care attitude, some light shots at haters and naysayers here and there that actually add up into somewhat of an insecure preoccupation when you consider all the instances of it happening across the entire album. It was kind of clear things were headed in this direction given some of the teasers Cudi had handed over in the lead up to this project, like the very blissful and washed out Porsche Topless, for example, which outside of its slightly psychedelic production is just about the most vapid pop rap I've heard in the past year. I mean, just because something is feel good doesn't mean it needs to be drivel, which is unfortunate because I don't see why Cudi should need to be upset in order to put a bit more detail or emotional labor into his records. But that just doesn't seem to be here in a lot of these tracks that just kind of feel like echo-drenched Travis Scott runoff, which, while it may not sound as aesthetically like a ripoff of Travis's stuff, like on Man on the Moon 3, it feels like Cudi is still very much borrowing from his ethos. Like, yeah, you can actually just come out with tracks that mean essentially nothing as long as the production is essentially ear candy. I think the closing track too only confirms this record's lack of inspiration between its dance groove, its stretched sample loops, way too many effects to count, and some very goofy ad-libs. Just kind of feels like Cudi doesn't have much to pull from thematically or emotionally, outside of not having a lot to worry about at the moment. In its best moments, this album offers a few witty rhyme schemes and maybe some truly trippy, lush, and grandiose beats. The first leg of the record is certainly solid, at least in terms of coming across big and wavy, but the lack of anything to really rap or sing about combined, with not too many standout choruses, does begin to wear thin, especially on tracks like Most Ain't Dennis, where Cudi goes on saying, "Yeah, act like my poo don't stink. Walking in the party with a drink and my crew and a blunt. Give a fuck what many dudes think while I get my fucking shine on with some girls on my lap. Walked a road most cats never finish. Express all my glow over Benny. Hope you get it now. Doing movies, TV shows. Out with Timmy. I'm a burn a pack." I mean, I get that Scott is currently at a point in his career where he's riding high, he's seeing lots of success, he is seeing the spoils of all of his labor, and that none of what he's saying on this track is coming from a super grave or serious place. But at the very least, it could be put in a way that is clever, or funny, or catchy or interesting, but it's just not. At the midpoint of the album is where some of the songwriting, as if it's great so far, really begins to take a nosedive. The tracks get shorter. Kind of feels like we're being subjected to mountains of filler. Too Damn High featuring Lil Yachty just kind of seems like it brings him into the fold just to do that vibrato effect that has been so popular with him lately. It's an awkward feature all around, though. Get Ya Gone has even less going for it than most of the songs so far on the album, especially as Cudi is riffing on lines like "ooh, she lick it, ooh." A lot of his stiff, forced, monotone flows across this track feel pretty awkward as well. Meanwhile, At the Party featuring Pharrell and Travis Scott again has the most star power of any song on this record, but even that can't smooth out the uncomfortable kinks on this track, namely the really stiff hi-hats, baby-voiced Pharrell hook that kind of succumbs to the layers of synths in the mix too. A very basic Travis appearance as well, where he delivers a bar that makes me want to die. And she coming fast like a cheetah, but she not a cheetah, because I'm gonna have to run from a cheetah. Is Travis afraid this woman is cheating? Is he afraid of getting mauled by a giant cat? I don't know. Anyway, the track is just not the fireworks that I would hope for, considering the bangers cumulatively these guys have made over the years. Kind of just seems like they're resting on their laurels at the end of the day. Things don't really improve on the record with Mysticula either, which has this chilling beat that sounds like something out of an 80s horror film, but the song is bland, it's soaked in way too much reverb, and Scott is just lacing the track with all of these awkward ad-libs. For a moment in the track list, we are suddenly in an emotionally tortured place on the song Tortured, which is okay. It kind of sounds like old Cudi in terms of its vocal delivery, vocal melodies, overall mood and vibe, even if the mix is a little oversaturated. But without much on this record to reinforce it, it kind of makes me wonder, what is the point of this song? Clearly, this is not the place emotionally that you're in for the most part right now, and it just kind of serves a reminder of what we're not getting on the record. We have a similar emotional itch being scratched on X and Cud, which is moody, yes, but for the most part, this track just feels like a bad remix of XXX Tentacion's Orlando, which borrows the vocals and piano chords from that track, leaves them mostly untouched with some Kanye-esque drum loops kind of coming up in the background. The only bright spot in the final leg of this record is Blue Sky, which is a typical Cudi ballad in a lot of ways, but it's got kind of an 80s pop rock twist that works really well. Because seriously, this track is anthemic, it's cinematic, matches the carefree attitude of this record with a really positive and aspirational energy that I like a lot. Not to mention Cudi's soaring vocals on the hook sound fantastic, and melodically, it's a triumph too. Honestly, I wish more tracks on this thing felt as premeditated and as structured as this. As much of the time, it just kind of feels like Cudi is riffing with the same general vibes and themes repeating over and over and over, with a variety of different trippy beats. But yeah, again, for the most part, this record feels very uninspired, kind of bloated as well, which is odd to say because Cudi has released projects of a similar length in the past, but the ratio of of memorable to forgettable stuff on this record is just off. Very, very off. There's only a handful of tracks I thought were pretty great, and anything beyond that that comes across remotely enjoyable is mostly being carried by the production. But yeah, this record is most definitely a step down for me, which is disappointing considering that on Man on the Moon 3 he sounded so much more in his bag. Feeling a strong 3 to a light 4. On this one, transition. Have you given this record a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head is another video you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Kid Cudi, forever.